all the smiles, like I'm going live. So we are live right now. Hey, everybody, welcome. It's your girl, Nicole Fletcher, with another Feature Friday Birth Story Hour. And I've got some amazing people here to share their birth story. And the cool part about their birth story is it was a home birth. My camera's kind of glitching. What is going on? I protest this. What is going on? Am I blinking on your guys' screen?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody mad but the devil today. What is going on? Okay, it's settled on. Awesome, thank you. So you guys know how we normally roll. Like we've got my song, Fridays or Sundays Best. Feeling good, like I should. Went and took a walk around the neighborhood. Oh, you guys sing. So
we're like, we're just watching you.
I'm like, oh shoot, they're actually vocalists. Maybe I should not sing. So, normally I play music, but I'm like worried about this glitching. So then I'm like, oh, I don't have my music lined up because I'm glitching. Anyways, we're just going to get into it. So again, welcome. It's Feature Friday, Birth Story Hour. So we've got a sweet, amazing couple from Northwest Arkansas coming to share their story. And I got to be a part of their birth almost as like a last minute type of deal. So it's not, if you come on to share your birth story, you do not have to have had me as a doula or an apprentice or anything like that. We just want to hear stories. I mean, it's beautiful to hear the encouragement and the power behind home birth stories, even hospital birth stories. And we're here for the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly, and everything in between, because we know that that's what happens. So I'm going to let our couple introduce themselves.
Okay, I'm Hannah Vanderveer. This is my husband, Austin, and we have been married for 7.5 years. And I'm a hairstylist, so I work 2 days a week in the salon. And then the rest of the time, I'm mama. I stay home with the babies, and it's amazing. And I've been doing hair for actually 11 years this month. So it's been a long time.
Awesome.
I love it. Yes.
I'm Austin, Hannah's husband, and I have been married to her for 7.5 years.
Really?
Yeah. So I build furniture for a living. I own a business called Heritage Woodwork, and also now that I have 2 baby boys, have started making wooden toys and have a toy company called Tough Ash Toys. So we're doing that now as well.
That's really awesome. So I've seen some of your work, Austin, and I've like tagged different people that are like trying to like make stuff. And I'm like, usually I tag Hannah and I'm like, hey, can your husband do this? And then she's like, yep, he sure can.
Yes, he can.
I was like, pretty much if it's made out of wood, we can make it happen.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So if you guys are interested in needing some woodworking done, then we got some connection right here. So make that happen. Awesome. And if you need your hair done,
holler.
Hannah's got you covered. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about just kind of your birth experience. Like, you had a home birth. So how did you make the decision? You have 2 babies, right? 2 children. And tell us a little bit about like your first birth experience and what about that experience made you do something different with your second?
Okay. So our first son, Merritt, he's 4 years old, and we had a hospital birth with him. I had him naturally, no epidural or anything. And I wanted that the whole time. So I feel like just from the beginning with like both of my pregnancies, I chose what I wanted and I stuck with that, like didn't waver.
Yeah.
Had him in a hospital. It was honestly an amazing experience. It was great. The nurses and my doctor were super supportive with the decision that we wanted, which I was so thankful for. Had him at like almost 40 weeks, I guess.
Yeah, like a day early.
Yeah. But this time around, I knew I could do it. You know, our bodies are like meant to give birth. Like I knew that I can do it. I knew what it felt like. I knew, you know, all of that. And so, I started going to my OB, for this second pregnancy, and I think at around 20, and I had kind of in the back of my head this whole time had thought, I want to do a home birth. I don't know. Honestly, the biggest thing for me is I didn't think that it would be possible financially. I thought that it would be way too expensive, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, not covered by insurance, all that kind of stuff. But honestly, we pretty much made out even with what we would have paid for a hospital birth, which is awesome.
Yeah. Pause real quick. So when you said you thought it was kind of like too expensive or out of your reach, in your mind, what did you think the cost for a home birth was? Like before, like maybe connecting with a midwife or asking the question, just sitting around at home, what was like rolling around your head as far as the cost?
I honestly thought that it would be anywhere from like $8,000 to $10,000. Like I thought that it was a lot. Like, I mean, I thought that it was going to be like just way too much. And then in my head too, I think, you know, you have that thought of, well, we have health insurance. And so it's, you know, we'll just have our copay or whatever. But like I said, it all washed out. And I don't know, can I share with like what we paid? Is that fine? Okay. Because with our like deductible and everything at the hospital, it would have been, with no complications or anything, it would have been like $2,800. And that's just for me, you know, not for the baby or anything like that. And I think we paid altogether
right at about the same
for home birth, which is incredible.
And that covered everything. That covered you, Jace, all of it.
Just everything. Yeah. So anyways, I think it was 24 weeks. I really decided, I had a moment actually driving to the chiropractor, because I had just prayed about it this whole time. Like, I really want to have a home birth, but I'm kind of scared, not for the experience, but just like, what are people going to think, or are people going to support me? And, but I had this moment driving to the chiropractor, and I almost had like a vision, which is really funny now, because the vision was me in our living room, just like having birthed our baby, and the sunlight was coming in and everything, which is really ironic and funny, because that's not at all the sunlight. It was 4:45 in the morning. It was dark. But I just had this moment of like, I can do this. Yeah, I think he's awake. You know, and I want to do this. And so I came home and told Austin, because we had kind of talked about it. And we found Lucy, the midwife that helped us and delivered Jace, and we met with her, and I was just like, okay, this is it. We got to do it.
You're
like,
sold. Yeah.
So
I love that. And I love that once you know, because this is what a lot of people feel. It's like, this is not something that I can do, because their imagination goes wild about what is potentially happening. And then when they meet someone and the reality is so different, it's like, I can do that.
Yeah.
And it's not like you have to pay all of that the day you walk in. Like, you sign the sheet and you're like, I got to pay this money. It's usually there's payment plans, there's options. And talk to me a little bit about, I know you had a good hospital experience. That's my boy right there.
That is your boy.
I love that guy. He just is so sweet and so talky. Like, he just melted my little soul over. So tell me just a little bit about some of the differences between your experience with having a provider in the hospital and having a midwife as a provider. What was different about that?
There were a lot of things that were different. The first one that comes to my mind is how easily accessible it was for me to contact Lucy any time of day or night. If I had a question, a concern, anything and it's not like good or bad, I wouldn't say, but with an OB, with the hospital, like if I had a concern, I would have to call the on-call nurse. I'd have to wait for them to call me back. And like with my pregnancy with Merritt, I had a scare where I thought I had a blood clot on my leg. It turned out to be fine. But you know, you're terrified, like and you're just waiting to hear back.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
you know, if that were the case with Lucy, I could contact her and she could tell me immediately, like, yes, go to the hospital. No, you know, like, you're fine,
Right.
whatever. So that's the first thing I can think of. But, and then just the, like, just the relationship. I feel like Lucy and you and Sarita and like and Ray, everybody has like such a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
And I had a special connection with my OB. He was great and, like I said, really supportive of our decision. But we got to build a relationship. You know, at each appointment, we were never rushed in or rushed out.
Mhm.
We got to share like life, you know,
Yeah.
plus our, you know, pregnancy. So
Yeah.
those are kind of the two main things for
And
me.
the flexibility of it.
Yeah, the
Just
flexibility.
like there's no, like, you know, in a, you know, doctor's office or hospital setting, everything has to be by procedure and by the rules. And, you know, with Lucy, it was, I mean, obviously there's standards and rules and stuff you have to follow, but there's also leeway there to kind of customize it to fit your current need and where you're at. And that just took a lot of stress off.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like that's the humanity and the relational part of like you're growing a human and you're not just a number, or even if your provider has a lot of people on her list, which Lucy does.
Yeah, she does.
Everyone is unique and special. And your circumstance is, you know, just kind of what's going on, like in your life, what's going on with your kids, your other kids or family members. That is a part of your care, and it's whole care, like more complete care, right?
Yes, 1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah, more woman-centered, family-centered. Austin, just speak a little bit from a dad's perspective of how the support that you received from a midwife was helpful for you in your home. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like you know what I'm saying, but I want you to like finish it off. Just like as a dad, how did that like calm your anxiety? Not saying you had anxiety, but I think when your wife has anxiety, then you're like, oh Lord, what we got to do? You know what I mean? Like, what do we do to help her? So how did that work for you?
You weren't against?
No, I wasn't ever against it. From the beginning, what I wanted out of, I feel weird saying what I wanted out of her birth.
No.
But I wanted the best combination of what she wants and comfort wise and safety wise.
Yeah.
And there's some give and take there of, you know, where's the balance?
Yeah.
And through the whole process, I felt really comfortable being able to come to Lucy and say, hey, here's my concern about XYZ. It was never, you know, written off as like, oh, you're just the dad or whatever.
Right.
Whereas I feel like in, you know, a traditional, you know, doctor and hospital setting, sometimes that is the case because you're not the patient. And I understand that. That's fine. Right. But, you know, with this process, I was able to kind of say, well, what about this? And do we need to do this? And how does this work? And also, because we weren't rushed in and out of appointments, I was able to learn a lot more about just the whole birth process, like how this miracle works, you know, and so that was really cool for me to be able to just like pick y'all's brain and be like, well, how does that happen? And how do we do this? And so once I was able to kind of wrap my brain around all of that and have some more knowledge, it was really, I was at ease with it, honestly, going into it. I was excited for the whole process. And honestly, like I've told a bunch of people, like I've told, you know, we have a bunch of friends that have done home births and they all were like, you know, buckle up, buddy. Like this is going to be like one of the best experiences ever. And it honestly was. Like I wouldn't change it for anything. Like I've told a lot of people best decisions were accepting Jesus, marrying Hannah in a home birth. And it was awesome. Like the whole time.
Yeah. I love that. And I think it's such a powerful testament to birth experiences. And I think we as a society, I think we have gotten to a place where we accept things that are subpar. So I hear your language and even saying like, well, this happened at the hospital. It's okay, but this was a better experience. And so
Well, I feel like I've also compared it to like cake. Like carrot cake is good cake, but chocolate fudge cake is really good cake. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that it's bad or good. It's just a different good.
Yeah. Okay, I support that. I support that. I'm a carrot cake fan, so I prefer.
I mean, I'll eat a piece of carrot cake. I'm not mad at it, but
Oh my gosh.
But I prefer the chocolate.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. So Julia Komeyer pops on and she says, "That's awesome from a dad's perspective." Awesome. We've got another love it. So I'll just kind of pop on. If someone comments, then I'll just add that so we can all see that. So let's get into it. Let's get into you're grooving and shaking and getting ready to have this baby. Okay. Tell us the story. Bring us into the day of labor. Bring us all into that space and just go for it. You can be as animated and as detailed as you like. There's no words that are off limits unless you don't want people to see it later.
Perfect.
We don't want to violate any community standards.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll start with Friday because he was born Saturday early morning. So Friday, really the whole week I'd had contractions on and off, but nothing that stayed super consistent. Friday, they were way more consistent. Friday, I saw Lucy that morning at 8 a.m. or something like that for my 42-week check. Because she was like, "Girl, if you go any further, we're going to have to send a letter to the state." I'm like, okay. So I went and saw her that morning. She had checked me and I was at a 4 and she said everything was really favorable. And she was like, we're going to have a baby this weekend. We just don't know when, but it's going to happen. I'm like, okay. So I left there and I went straight to my chiropractor. I did chiropractic care throughout my whole pregnancy, which if whoever's watching this is you have to do it. It is so, I'm a huge advocate for it throughout your whole life, but especially during pregnancy.
Yes.
So, and she was incredible. Find somebody that is specialized in prenatal care. So anyways, I headed to her office. She actually came in especially for me, which I thought was really precious and special, and I needed it. So she adjusted me, and after she adjusted me, my contractions were getting a little bit stronger, but still, again, nothing. There were actually, I remember now, I feel like I need to write all this out. I was driving home from the chiropractor and I was on a 3-way call with my mom and sister, and they would be talking and I would just kind of stop talking and they were like, "Are you having a contraction?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm breathing." And they're like, "You're driving?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm driving." So, anyways, I went home and just kind of piddled around, I guess. And then I had to go to, if you're doing a home birth and you go past, 40 weeks, you have to do the non-stress test. Mm-hmm. So we headed to that afternoon. And we did that and everything was fine. It wasn't a pleasant experience just because they actually thought they sent us to the emergency room, which is strange, instead of sending us to our to the doctor's office room. And then they said, "So you're here to get induced?" And I was like, "No, no, ma'am." So anyways, but that I felt like my contractions started getting a little stronger, and they were like, "You're having contractions," and I'm like, "Yes, I know I am." So from that point on, they were about or I guess at that point it was like every 15 minutes, lasting about 30 seconds to a minute. And then we went to my parents' house, and for a little bit of time there, they were actually about 5 minutes apart, lasting a minute. And my little contraction counter was like, "You need to go to the hospital." I'm like, "Joke's on you." We need to go home. We need to go home. So
I've actually been there already, and I've been
right?
and now I'm definitely over it.
Exactly. So my dad actually was like, "You need to go home. I think you need to go home." I'm like, "I think I'm okay," but so we went home, and the Lord is so good, because our whole drive home from my parents' house to our house is about 25 minutes, and my contractions were pretty intense. And literally at every contraction we had, we were stopped. Which the first
stop sign or stop
the first time it happened was really funny, because there was a dump truck in front of us that was like, he didn't know what he was doing. So he stopped in the middle of the road. And at first I was like, what is he doing? This is so annoying. And then all of a sudden I had a contraction, which was really cool, because I just feel like that was the Lord kind of being like, I'm going to give you a break, because contractions in the car are no joke.
Yes. Very difficult. Yep.
Yes. And so anyways, we got home. At that point, it was around like 4-ish, I think. And I text Lucy and let her know. I was like, my contractions, they're pretty strong, and they're about 5 to 7 minutes apart. And she was like, do you think you're like going into labor? Or like active labor? And I was like, I don't really know. So she came over and checked me, and I was a little bit further along, still kind of at a 4, but she said it was just more favorable.
Right. Right.
And she goes, I really think tonight when you lay down, you're going to go into labor. Like, I think, once you can just relax, you're going to go into labor. And so my mom and my sister were over, and they just kind of, cleaned for me, and we just hung out for a little bit. And then I sent them home, because I was like, I don't think this is it. I think we still have a while to go. And so they left around like 8. I got in the bathtub at like 9 or 9:30. And my contractions, they were still coming, but they lessened a little bit, in the water. It just relaxed me. And then pretty much as soon as I got out of the bath and into the bed around 10, my contractions were very consistent. They went from 10 o'clock, or I guess 10 or 10:30. They were like 5 to 7 minutes apart, lasting a minute. And then at like 11:15, they were like 3 to 5 minutes apart, lasting a minute. And then by midnight, right before midnight, and I just laid in bed this whole time. He was sawing logs, like snoring. He would kind of like wake up. He's like, "Are you okay?" And then just like
power nap.
Power nap, yeah.
Yeah, power nap. Yep. He had big work to do. He had to get ready.
And so I just laid there. Like I laid on my right side, and I would just I wouldn't fall asleep, but I'd kind of like go into la la land basically. Mm-hmm. And then I'd wake up to time my contraction anytime I had one. Yeah. And I would send screenshots to my sister and my mom. And so it was almost midnight. And I said, just pray for me. It's getting pretty intense, but I don't know if this is it yet. I don't know. I was in such denial about it being the time.
Labor denial is a real thing.
It is such a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I finally got out of bed, and I'm like literally can't talk, can't do anything through them. And Austin's like, I'm calling your mom and sister. They're on their way. And I'm like, okay, but I just don't know if this is it. And then he's like, I'm going to go set up the birth pool. And I said, okay, and I'm going to call Lucy. And he comes back in the room for a second, and I said, I can't call her. I can't move. Because I was like, I can't like think, I can't think clearly. Like, how am I supposed to dial a number and like Lucy, like during contractions? My contractions at that point were about 2 minutes apart, lasting a minute. So it was really like bam, bam, bam.
Yep.
So Austin called Lucy, and she literally, it was midnight. She picked up the phone and said, hello. Like she was like sitting on the couch.
It sounded like she had just been sitting up watching TV.
I honestly was amazed at that. And that like gave me so much comfort, because I'm like, okay, like she, like anytime we call, no matter what time of day or night it is, she is going to answer her phone. Yeah. And so she answered, she said, hello. Austin said, it's go time. And she said, I'm on my way. And so she got there, and, she got all my vitals. Everything was good. And she goes, do you want me to check you? And I was like, I think so. Cause I need to know where I'm at.
Before that though, you were like, I just don't know if this is
yeah.
it. I don't want to be the girl that called wolf.
Yes, I told Lucy, I said, I'm sorry. I hope that I'm not like, because I knew that she had been in a couple other births, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry, I don't want to like, you know, be the girl that cries wolf. And she goes, oh, honey, you're in labor.
it's time to go.
I was like, oh,
yeah.
So she checked me, and my mom, it was so funny. My mom and my sister were in like the kitchen or something. Lucy checked me and she goes, you want to know what you are? And I said, yeah. And she goes, you're at an 8 and you're like 100% a face. Like you are. And we both Lucy and I like squealed and laughed and cried. And my mom comes running in. She goes, I thought your water broke.
Oh, there's a baby in here.
Yeah. So from that point, got into the tub, and well, I guess you had gotten there right before I got into the tub. And that was like the best, like literally, I'm not even kidding, Nicole, seeing you walk into my house, I was like, okay, all right. Like he's here, because Ray and Lucy were there, but I wanted you there so bad. Like that, this whole, you know, the whole pregnancy, I wanted you there. And so it just felt so good to see you. It's like an angel walking into my home. So I got into the tub, and I was in there for a while, and you told me, you were like, I think that, you know, you being in the tub is a good thing, but it's kind of slowing your contractions down. We need to keep them going. Mm-hmm. So you guys, from that point on, Nicole had me doing
slave driver
freaking me, like she had me doing like, I don't even like Pilates and
like Captain Morgan.
Oh my gosh! Yes, but I trusted you because I knew, and I'm the kind of person, I don't like in labor. You know, I'm okay laying there or sitting there, but I want to be moving around. It feels better for me to be walking or swaying or, you know, I especially during contraction. I go limp, but I need to sway. You know.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, Nicole, girl, you had me. I was upside down at one point on the edge of my bed because his head was just a little off. We needed a sister to help me dilate more, and so
I love it.
And so from that point, from when Lucy and you got there around midnight, he was born at 4:45 a.m. So it was pretty quick. Which. It's funny because I remember looking at the clock at like 2:30 and looking at Lucy saying, I'm sorry it's taking so long. She's like, what? No.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I'm just going to insert just a pinch here.
Yes.
I loved the support and the intimacy that you and Austin shared during your laboring experience. I just want, you know, sometimes you don't see or hear back like what other people see in that experience. So I know when I'm in a labor space and I'm like, let's go, like we're about to turn up. You know what I mean? And like we're gonna like push these envelopes because we want a baby at the end of the day.
Wow.
But I felt like Austin was like there, you know what I mean? And like right there rocking it and right there with you in all of the different things. And so that's beautiful. And it's not always available or offered for some women, some experiences. And so I want you to know and understand the treasure that you have in one another and the beauty that like was able to be witnessed around the room in just like the support. Because I know what I do at a birth. And I know what I put you through. I mean, I felt like there were a couple times Austin like looked at me like, "Are you for real?" And I was like, "Yeah, we for real. That's what we."
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Let me do my job.
We can do this. It's gonna be okay.
But yes, you are so right. Austin was and still is the most supportive person, and it is a treasure, and it is something that I, especially during labor, don't take for granted because he literally did not leave my side, like ever, not once, which is like incredible. And I know some women want to labor, you know, alone or whatever. And I didn't want everybody on me, but I mean, he's my husband. He's my support system. And so
He's happy about the baby inside, so you need him.
Yeah, right.
Like
he has something to do with it, so he's gonna have something to do with it during labor.
Exactly. I love that. Beautiful. So at some point, you guys moved.
I don't think I would want to be anywhere else though.
Yeah.
Like I would say, like, for any guys that are watching, like, jump in and do it. Like, because I think, like, for me especially, like, in the hospital, I was there and, like, right by you and you know, through everything, but I didn't know what the home birth situation was going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it's literally a once in a lifetime opportunity. And are you going to be pushed away by the possibility? Well, not possibility, it happens. Blood and, you know, the fluids and just the kind of, like, what people would consider the, like, grossness of pregnancy and delivery. But getting to be in the water and, like, help catch your baby boy, like, you can't pass on that one.
Yeah. Like, I'm mildly about to cry because I can, like, I'm like, okay, Nicole, pull it together. I mean, it's and such a powerful message. You know, Julia Colmar is my mom, so she commented earlier about an awesome perspective from a dad, and that's true. And, like, I think other men need to hear that from other men, that you take up space in the birth place and it's valuable.
Yeah,
like, nobody can be Austin to Hannah in this space, even though the people in this space were supportive, affirmative, all of those positive things, but nobody could be you. And this is your baby too, you know, like, you're a part of this experience as well. And so being in the water and feeling and connecting, one of my favorite things that happens sometimes is when a dad and a mom are in the water together and the water breaks in the water, and then the dad feels it too. Like,
that'd be weird.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that one.
Yeah. So, anyways, go ahead. I'm like, go ahead. So you guys you're laboring. Your labor is progressing, and it progresses to a place where you can actually get in the water, right? Where
do I say that again?
Your labor progresses to a place where you can get in the birth pool. Right?
Yes. Okay. So, Lucy had me just pushing traditionally on the bed to just help get things, you know, lined up, I guess, like ready to roll. And literally she goes, it was like I was pushing and, you know, like it was just so intense. And all of a sudden she goes, okay, if you don't get in the tub right now, you're having this baby on the bed. And in my mind, I'm like, no, I'm not. And so she commented on it, like, the next day when she came to check. She was like, girl, you walked from the bed to your living room to get in the pool with your, like, bag of waters, like, right there. Like, you're, like, bulging, about to break. Like, you know, your water's about to break. And I'm like, yeah, I was busting it, booking it.
Yeah.
Because I was not going to I wanted a water birth so bad. And so I got into the tub, and I remember kind of for a split second there, losing a little, because I feel like, and y'all can tell me, but I feel like for the most part, I was pretty calm, you know, like, but I kind of lost focus there for a minute when I got into the bathtub or into the tub, just because I said it, I have it on video. I can't stop pushing. And I said, I don't know what to do because it was just so intense.
Yes.
And I think you or Lucy, somebody just said, like, you know what to do. Like, just listen to your body, breathe.
Yeah.
You know, that you got to get oxygen to your baby and you got to get oxygen to yourself. And so it kind of, like, snapped me back into, like, you know, game time mode.
Yeah.
And then, for me, what was comfortable and just almost natural, because I never even thought about how I wanted to birth the baby out. You know what I mean? Like, what position? Yeah. I just all of a sudden got on my knees and leaned over, you know, the side of the tub. Yep. From the time I got into the tub, probably like 2 minutes from there, my water broke, which is it's a really cool feeling, because they broke my water in the hospital. So I didn't really get to experience what, you know, it felt like naturally. It was so cool. And so my water broke. And from that point on, I think it was 15 minutes. And he was out, and it was awesome.
He's telling you about his journey. He was
like, let me tell you what.
My journey was a little intense.
We're talking about birth stories. Let me tell you about my story.
Right? Yeah. So, but yeah, it was pretty quick from that point on. And what was so amazing is Nicole or Lucy said, put your hand down there, feel your baby. And he was crowning and just feeling the top of his head. And I felt that he had hair. I just said, oh, baby boy. I just couldn't believe it. But it also it gave me so much, motivation to we're going to get this baby out and we're just going to do it. And so, from the time his head was out till his body was out was 1 minute, so which is awesome.
Yeah.
And we, scooped him out and put him on my chest, and he just kind of whimpered a little bit, but I just remember him looking at me, just kind of looking around. And it was because it was on our own terms, it was such a calm experience.
Yeah. When you think about, or when I recall just the atmosphere of your labor in general and your birth, it was a very worshipful space.
Yes.
Multiple times you were leaned over and your hands were just raised in a worship. And I think if I can recall, when you got in the pool, the same thing happened. And so it was very intimate. It was also very holy. You know what I mean? And this was a beautiful space. Now, every birth isn't like that. Yeah. And so it was a pleasure and an honor to be able to participate in that with you guys. And I mean, I just felt like everybody kind of around was just like worshiping together, and it was beautiful. And I feel like if birth could be like that for more people, we would just think differently about birth in general. It's a part of your worship. Childbirth is a worship experience.
Yes.
Marriage intimacy is a worship experience. And so birth is not different. And so I don't know. I love that. So, and I love that of your experience. And that was one thing that you didn't mention was just the atmosphere that was a part of your space that allowed you freedom, that you could move, and you could just release yourself and be free in that space. And that was beautiful. It was definitely beautiful. It was very worshipful. So I love that.
Yeah. Well, and I say wanted, but for me, birth, it really is. I say for me, it's for everybody who gives birth. It's such a literal heaven meets earth experience that you can't get anywhere else.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It truly is this heavenly experience. And worship is such a huge part of my life that, I had a birth playlist for Merritt and I had one for Jace, and I would just listen to songs throughout the pregnancy that really spoke to me and that, were encouraging. And, but putting those on, cause it was quiet until you got there and you said, do you have a playlist or music that you want to put on? And I was like, I don't really know if I want to now. Mm-hmm. But as soon as we turned it on, yes, I have my sister took a video. It was The Blessing by Carrie Job, and I just couldn't help but worship, may his favor be upon you for 1,000 generations and your family and your children and their children, it was just this out of body heavenly experience. And we just prayed, and same thing with Merritt in the hospital, that the Holy Spirit would be so present at this birth because he gave us this baby. It's his, it's his before it's ours.
Yes.
So it was a holy experience. It was a worshipful experience, and which it should be, because he's given us this baby. We want to give him all praise back,
Y'all got me all
You're a pretty crier.
Well, I'm trying to hold back. I didn't get all into it. I'm like, okay. onion around or something. It's true. And I love you sharing that. And I think people need to hear that, especially from your heart of worship and like expressing that. So I'm thankful that was your experience, but also thankful that you're able to share this on another platform and reach other people so that they can think differently too about their birth experience and how holy and beautiful it is to like encompass that all together.
Yes.
They're not separate. This is like together.
Yeah.
So beautiful. So looking back on your birth experience, what prepared you the most and what surprised you the most? So I would love for both of you to kind of like, you can take both, or one can do one and the other can do the other. But like looking back on your actual birth experience, what prepared you the most? Let's start there, and then we'll go with what surprised you the most.
Okay. I think what prepared. Yeah, were you prepared?
Like, I have to talk. I'm a talker, and I love that.
I think what prepared me the most was talking to people that had gone through it, and surrounding myself here. Will you take it? And surrounding myself with like positive birth experiences and just encouragement from other people. Because if you start to let negative like thoughts or negative birth experiences, like, I mean, you have to be realistic, you know that like you might have to transfer or something like that. But that, I feel like that just helped me be the most prepared. And like, I read books, honestly, kind of having this like mantra in my head of like, God literally created your body to do this. Like, and Ina May Gaskin, she has a book, a childbirth birth book, and she says that we're the only mammals that fear birth. And I'm not comparing myself to a cow because that's rude, right? Don't do that. But a cow doesn't go into birth fearful, right? Mm-hmm. They know, I mean, as much as a cow knows that the baby, the calf is going to come out. It's going to happen. There's one way.
Yeah.
It happened. Yeah. And so knowing that my body, it was created to do this, I can do this. And I actually said that during the pushing process. I kind of stopped and I just kept saying, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this.
Yep. I remember that.
Yeah. And just so speaking positivity over myself. But like I said, just being prepared as far as like knowing like what happens during birth and how to give birth and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just like that mental preparedness was huge for me. And just having the support of positivity around, that was huge.
I love that. Go ahead, Austin. Go ahead.
Hannah mentioned talking to other people and kind of, I feel like online there's a lot of resources for the mom, but there's really like, I'm trying to figure out, I'm Googling, home birth from the dad's point of view and that sort of like, there's not a lot out there.
Right.
So, I mean, having, been there first time around with Merritt, I had a general idea of kind of what to expect and how things kind of unfolded. But like, it's hard for dads to figure out what to do and what to expect. I got the husband coach birthing by what's his name?
The Bradley method.
Bradley, yeah. And so that was kind of cool. Like reading through that kind of gave me a little bit more perspective. But like, I don't know. If somebody knows of more dad-based information out there,
I feel like he needs to like write a book or like a blog or something like that, because I'm like, if it's not out there, you just do it.
There's been like conversations and thoughts about that, like having dads meet up, like a childbirth class, but like at like a brewery or something, you know what I mean? Like birth and beer, or beer and birth, you know, type of deal like that, where you just kind of
Can't call it babies and beer. People would get upset.
Oh, I was gonna call it babies and brewskis.
Yeah. So finding like a little name,
Mhm.
and you know, if I get to thinking and have a minute, I might call you, Austin, and be like, "You want to lead this up? Let's go."
It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not against the idea.
Yeah. Okay. Look, and you guys heard it here. Stuff is going to be available for dads. Yes, I love it. I love it. What surprised you the most?
Do you want to say what? Do you have something that surprised you the most, or?
I was surprised the most when I realized that I forgot to put the pool liner in the pool.
Oh my gosh. Whoops.
We're sitting there, it's like 3 a.m., you know, you're getting back in the pool. I'm like, uh-oh.
I think we were all surprised the most when there was no pool liner in there. We're like, oh. And then Lucy at one point like leaned over and she's like, I think it was during cleanup that we realized there was a pool liner or something. And I was like, oh.
I told Ray, I was like, there's a hose around the back. Like, do you want to just take the whole thing out and rinse it out? So
oh god,
they got it squared away eventually.
There's bleach for that.
It's fine.
It's okay.
It's fine.
It's extra, you know, just, you know, those apprentices can handle that. No problem.
Yeah.
Honestly, too, that one thing that I thought was super cool that was not necessarily surprising, but just a really cool experience was the whole like placenta deal, like being able to kind of, I guess, dissect it, you know, look at it and make sure everything's there and examine it, and kind of the way you explained, like, this was the mom side, this is the baby side, this is, you know, we're looking for this, that, and the other. And like, I think it's, for me, the home birth experience is just a ton of little bitty experiences like that makes the difference. Because like in the hospital, you know, I cut the cord and they hauled a bunch of stuff off and I never saw anything. There was no chance for me to get to see, you know, a lot of stuff and being involved in different areas. But I think being able to do just a bunch of little experiences like that was an awesome part of it for me.
I love that. Look at, he's like, Mom, Dad, like, I'm gonna tell you about this life.
I know, right? He's like, I got a lot to say.
I was all comfy in there, and then I started getting squeezed real hard.
Yes. Well, I just want to thank you guys for taking the time out to share your story. It was and is and will remain to be a beautiful birth experience. Is there anything that you want, like any piece of advice or any last, like, I'm on this video, I want to say this, from either Austin or Hannah, you, like anything that you guys just want to say out there for people regarding birth, regarding pregnancy, like, just here's your moment, like, take it.
Yeah, I think that, well, two things. The first thing is, if you are a woman and you are pregnant, or you want to, you know, or you're thinking about pregnancy and all of that kind of stuff, don't fear it. I had so many clients, you know, when we would talk about it and I would tell them, like, you know, we're going to do a home birth, or even just when I would talk about Merritt's experience, you know, being natural in the hospital, they're like, I could never do that. I could never, weren't you just in so much pain and, you know, all this kind of stuff. And here's the thing is it doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good, but you know, there's a reward at the end of it. Yeah. And so I don't view it as pain. I just view it as it's just discomfort that you get a baby at the end of it, which is really awesome. And like I said earlier, our bodies are designed to do this. And so we can do it, you know? Yeah. And then the other thing is, I once upon a time years ago thought that home birth was like for hippies, you know, and that it was this weird thing. And like, you know, and I thought surely they're not like trained medically and all this kind of stuff. And my mind was changed, just, you know, through conversations and reading and all that kind of stuff, to where I felt so safe.
Yeah.
So safe, 100% safe, knowing that if something were to go, you know, kind of, if something were to go wrong, or, you know, if I needed to be transferred, that Lucy would. But if something were to go wrong, that I trusted Lucy 100% with my baby, with my body, that she would say, we need to go to the hospital. That's for your best interest, you know? But yeah, it's not home birth, you guys. I mean, it can be as hippie and as crunchy as you want it to be. But it's not weird. It's millions of women around the world are giving birth. I think we do missions in Malawi, Africa, and those women literally give birth on the floor of a hut, you know. So if they can do it, I can do it, you know. But it's home birth. It's a beautiful thing. It's like I said, it's a holy thing. It's a comfortable thing. You're in your home. And I mean, if anybody has any questions, they're more than welcome to message me. I will talk about it till the cows come home. I love it so much. I am a huge home birth advocate.
Yeah, I love that. And birth where you do life, right? Because birth is just another life experience. So birthing where you do life is a beautiful thing. And so you just kind of hit the nail on the head, right? Yeah. I'm like, Austin knows about that. He's like, I know. Right. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and like taking, like, who, you know, some of the questions that happen sometimes is like, well, what type of people home birth? Like your type of people, you know, any type of person, like people, you know, have babies at home all the time for a variety of reasons. And it's not something that is brand new.
Right.
It's new to you, but like since the beginning of time, women all over the world from the beginning of time have been birthing where they make babies.
That's right.
The baby in the space that you made the baby. It's just a normal transaction. It's like a wedding, right? Like it's a milestone of life. And so childbirth is just another milestone.
Yeah.
I love that. Austin, did you have anything you wanted to share?
I would just say for the guys, for the dads out there, like I would just encourage them to just jump in, and whether it's home birth, you know, hospital, whatever it is, educate yourself the best you can. And be able to educate yourself enough to be able to voice your concerns and why you're concerned on certain areas, and communicate that with your spouse. Don't be closed-minded. Be open to kind of communicating about it, and then and just being involved, being you know, being in it, and being a contributing party to both the pregnancy, like all through the pregnancy and the birth, and then obviously afterwards. You know, I think a lot. The Bible says that. What does it say? So like arrows in a quiver are children born in a man's youth. And it's a blessing.
Yeah. I love that. I'm just gonna let that moment breathe, because y'all been trying to make me cry this whole video.
I know, and when the man cries, you know
it's what words. But it's beautiful, and clearly we can see the love that you have for one another, the love that you have for the Lord, and the love that you have for your children. And it's beautiful. And so I'm very thankful that you guys took the time to share your story and share your experience with me and us, those that will catch this later. It's a beautiful thing. Birth is beautiful. And I'm just so thankful that you guys shared, and just to let, you know, a few others into this sweet space that you held and you have. So thank you guys so much. And For all of you that are watching right now, if you want to participate in a feature Friday birth story hour in the future, leave a comment or send me a message. Let's get you booked out. I'm trying to get the schedule booked out for next month, so I kind of know what's going on, and we can make some cool graphics and all that jazz. So if you're interested in participating in a feature Friday, hit me up. Also, if you are oh, that was it. I was like, I don't know what else I was going to say. I want you to just subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like, I'm trying to make this like channel like the bee's knees. So
Yes.
get on YouTube, and it's Nicole Fletcher. And then I've got like stories, all the birth stories are going to be on there. So you can click them at any time. And so you can go on YouTube, like while you're washing dishes or doing laundry or whatever, you can play a birth story video and you can hear some experiences. So if you are pregnant right now and you need to hear some like stories that are going to help affirm you and like give you some motivation, subscribe to my channel. And watch the stories. That's awesome. All right, you guys have a great day. Happy Friday. Bye-bye.
See ya.